The galaxy was old, crowded, and proud. Thousands of intelligent species filled the stars. Some were born from fire worlds, some from frozen moons, some from oceans deeper than imagination. They measured worth by power, by fleets, by weapons, by how loudly a species could make the universe listen. That was why humans confused them. When humanity first appeared among the stars, they did not arrive with grand fleets or glowing warships. They came quietly, using small metal ships that looked weak and outdated. Their engines were slow. Their weapons were few. Their bodies were soft, their lives short. The Galactic Council watched them with polite boredom. "These are the new ones," whispered the viral delegates, their crystal eyes glowing with amusement. "They won't survive a century," said a Karth commander, his voice full of laughter. Humans spoke calmly. They asked for peaceful trade routes. They shared art, music, and stories of their home world, Earth, a blue planet with oceans, storms, and fragile life. They never showed their full maps. They never talked about their military. And they never answered questions about how they survived so long in a dangerous universe. When asked about defense, the human ambassador, an older man with tired eyes, only smiled gently and said, "We believe in peace." The laughter spread across the stars. To the galaxy, peace meant weakness. Human colonies were small. Their stations were modest. They built schools before fortresses, hospitals before battleships. Their worlds were full of lights at night, not shields. The Council records labeled them clearly. Classification: low threat. Strategic value: minimal. Some species felt pity, others felt hunger. The Karth Dominion felt opportunity. "They grow in empty space," the Karth generals said. "They do not guard it, they do not fear us." Humanity noticed the stares. They noticed the whispers, but they did not respond. Instead, they mourned their dead quietly, celebrated births loudly, and kept moving forward. On one distant colony, a human child asked her mother, "Why do aliens think we are weak?" Her mother looked up at the stars through the station window. She paused before answering. "Because they only see what we show them," she said softly. The child nodded, not fully understanding. Far away in the dark between galaxies, ancient machines slept. They were silent, cold, and unimaginably large. No alien sensors could detect them. No council map showed their location. They were not weapons. They were not fleets. They were homes. Human leaders had built them long ago, after wars that nearly destroyed their species, after lessons learned through fire and loss. Never again, they had promised. Never unprepared. Never helpless. But the galaxy did not know this. The galaxy only saw small ships, gentle words, and a species that refused to fight. And so the laughter continued. For now, the Karth Dominion believed in power. They believed that fear was proof of intelligence, that strength alone defined survival. When they looked at human worlds, they saw nothing but soft cities, thin defenses, and children playing under fragile skis. One border colony caught their attention. It was small, barely charted on their maps, with only a few defense satellites and a single orbital station. To the Karth commanders, it was an easy target, a chance to prove their dominance over the weak humans. The fleet arrived silently, like a shadow stretching across the stars. Gigantic ships blocked out distant suns. The aliens broadcast a message across the colony. "Surrender your world. You are not worth fighting." The human governor stood in the command room, surrounded by trembling aides. His eyes scanned the monitors, showing the immense Karth ships casting shadows over cities he had helped build. He did not panic. He did not raise weapons. He only asked quietly for 1 hour. The Karth commander laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the colony's communication networks. 1 hour, you are fools. Time will not save you." Inside the colony, families gathered in homes, schools, and public squares. The humans did not hide. They did not scream. They waited. Some prayed. Some held hands. Some simply watched the sky, staring at the enormous ships that promised destruction. When the hour ended, the Karth fleet struck. Energy beams tore through buildings. Space stations crumbled like sandcastles. Millions died instantly, their screams swallowed by the cold vacuum of space. Cities turned to fire. Oceans boiled under alien weapons. The galaxy watched. Many thought it would be the final proof that humans were fragile and weak. But the human ambassador, watching from a distant council chamber, did not scream. He did not curse. His face was pale. His body shook with grief, but his voice was steady as he addressed the Karth command. "You should not have done that." There was no anger in his words. There was no threat, only a sorrow so deep that it echoed through every corner of the galaxy. Something strange happened in that moment. Other species who had once mocked humans felt it too, a weight of emotion, an understanding that humans were not ordinary. They had endured, they had survived, and they had loved even when death burned their homes. In the colony, a young girl ran through the ruins of her school, holding a burned book close to her chest. She did not cry. She whispered a promise to the empty streets: "We will not give up. We will not be afraid." The Karth Dominion believed they had proven their point. They had shown the galaxy that humans were weak. They were wrong. Because humans never fought back, not yet. But in the hearts of the survivors, a quiet fire had begun. And one day, the galaxy would see that fire burn brighter than any weapon. The hour of destruction ended. Silence filled the stars. And somewhere, deep in human space, the first orders were whispered. "Awaken the Arcs." The galaxy did not know it yet, but the game had changed forever. After the attack, the galaxy expected chaos. The Karth Dominion celebrated their easy victory. Other species looked at human worlds with curiosity or hunger. Historians wrote reports labeling humans as fragile, broken, and unworthy. But inside human space there was no panic, only sorrow. The colony lay in ruins. Smoke rose into the thin atmosphere, carrying the smell of burning metal and life. Streets once filled with laughter were empty. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Families wandered, searching for those who were gone. Children held on to broken toys as if they could bring back the lives lost. Human leaders did not shout orders in anger. They did not plan immediate revenge. Instead, they gathered quietly in the council halls. Grief filled the room like a heavy fog. They spoke in soft voices, their words weighted with loss. "We failed to protect them," one governor whispered, tears staining his uniform. "We hoped kindness would be enough," another said, her eyes hollow from sleepless nights. "They killed our children," a third said, voice breaking. In that grief there was clarity. A single decision was made, one that would change the galaxy forever. "Awaken the Arcs," the Human Council ordered. Deep in the uncharted regions of space, enormous structures stirred. They had been built long ago, hidden from the eyes of the universe. They were not warships. They were not weapons. They were cradles, planet-sized starships carrying billions of humans in cryosleep. Entire ecosystems preserved inside, cities, forests, oceans, and mountains. The humans had prepared for this moment for generations. The galaxy thought they were weak because they never boasted. They had survived countless disasters on their own planet, learning patience, resilience, and strategy. They had waited, and now they were ready. Back on the destroyed colony, survivors lit memorial fires. They shared stories of loved ones who were gone. Every flame was a promise. Humanity would not end here. Humanity would endure. Across human space, fleets that had once seemed insignificant began to move. Small ships delivered vital supplies. Engineers worked to stabilize the colony. Citizens volunteered to rebuild, every hand a spark of defiance and hope. The Karth Dominion, believing they had crushed a weak species, did not notice the movement at first. Their fleets remained in orbit, sensing no threat, confident that the humans were finished. But humans were not finished. They never had been. The ambassador watched the stars from his chamber, his hands resting on the council table. He had seen loss and pain. He had seen death sweep through his people, and yet he was calm. "They think we are weak," he said quietly to no one. "They will learn that a quiet heart can carry the weight of worlds." Somewhere deep in human space, the arcs awoke. Engines roared to life. Lights blinked across surfaces larger than planets. Life stirred. The humans who had been asleep for centuries opened their eyes. The galaxy would not understand at first. It could not. Humans had hidden their true strength for generations. But soon, the stars themselves would know. And when they did, the laughter of the galaxy would end forever. The first report came quietly at first. Alien sensors, powerful beyond imagination, failed to detect what was happening. Entire star systems blinked out as if the light itself had fled. The Karth Dominion assumed a natural anomaly, a nebula, a collapsing star, anything but humanity. Then the shadows moved. They were not clouds, they were not dust. They were enormous, impossibly vast metal structures gliding through space with a silent, terrifying grace. Each one was larger than a planet. Each one carried cities, oceans, forests, and millions of sleeping humans. These were the arcs, planet-sized starships humanity had hidden for centuries. The galaxy froze. Sensors went dark. Communications trembled. Every empire, every fleet, every historian realized something they had never expected. Humans were not fragile. They had been waiting silently for this moment. The Karth Dominion, the empire that had laughed as they destroyed the border colony, was the first to notice. Their commanders stared at the monitors, seeing the colossal ships appear in their space without warning. What is that?" a young Karth officer whispered, his voice trembling. "They are too large," another stammered. "They cannot exist." But they did exist, and they were moving. The first arc did not fire. It did not roar. It glided, slow and inevitable, like a mountain drifting through the void. It bent light around it. It bent gravity. It carried more life than many planets could hold. The human ambassador addressed the Galactic Council once more, his voice calm but heavy with sorrow. "These are not weapons," he said. "They are homes. You destroyed one of our homes. Now you will understand what a home truly means to us." Across the galaxy, fleets scrambled in confusion. The Karth warships tried to aim their weapons. Energy beams struck nothing. They passed through shields that moved like water, absorbing power that no known material could endure. Every species, every fleet, every planet watched in disbelief. Humans had never boasted. They had never attacked. And yet, here they were, billions of lives preserved, planet-sized ships moving like silent judgment across the stars. On board the arcs, humans awoke from centuries of sleep. Children, adults, and elders all opened their eyes to see the stars again, to see the places where their families had died, to see the devastation the Karth had caused. Yet they did not scream. They did not curse. They prepared. They organized. The galaxy waited, fearful and stunned, as the first arc entered Karth space. The humans could have destroyed them easily. Every arc was capable of ending an empire. But for now, they did not. They moved with precision, with patience, with the quiet, unstoppable resolve of a species that had endured countless trials and had chosen to rise again. The Karth Dominion finally understood the truth. They had misjudged humans. They had mocked them. They had thought them weak. And now, the stars themselves trembled under the weight of humanity's silent, unyielding presence. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, the first words were whispered aboard an arc. "We will not forget, we will not forgive, but we will show mercy once." The galaxy would never laugh at humans again. The truth of humanity was simple, yet the galaxy had never seen it. Humans were not weak, they were careful. They had survived millennia of disasters on their own planet, diseases that wiped out millions, wars that nearly ended their species, and natural catastrophes that reshaped continents. Each time they had risen again. Each time they had learned, and each time they had prepared for the next. The galaxy had judged them by appearances, small ships, fragile bodies, and peaceful words. They had called humans naive, but humans were patient. They had hidden their greatest strength until the time was right. The Arks were living proof of that strength. Planet-sized vessels carrying entire ecosystems, cities, and billions of people in cryosleep. They could survive almost anything. They could rebuild worlds, replant oceans, raise forests, and preserve life even if entire planets were lost. They were not designed for conquest. They were designed for survival. And now the humans were awake. On board the Arks, families emerged from centuries of sleep. Children blinked at artificial skies painted with stars. Parents held their children tightly, whispering promises of safety. Elder humans who had entrusted the future to these ships looked at the galaxy with quiet determination. They had waited for this moment. Back in Karth space, alarms screamed. Fleets scrambled, sending reports that sensors could not explain. The Arks were immense, impossibly large, and impossible to destroy with conventional weapons. For the first time, the Karth realized their mistake. The human ambassador spoke again, addressing the council, but this time with words carrying both sorrow and strength. "We have lived among you quietly, asking for peace. We shared our knowledge and our homes, hoping the galaxy would grow with us. You took what was not yours. You destroyed what was precious to us. You believed we were weak." He paused, letting silence fill the chamber, heavy and suffocating. "They were wrong," he whispered. "We are not weak." In orbit around the destroyed colony, human ships began repairing structures. Engineers moved with precision, building hospitals, schools, and homes, while defense fleets deployed in formation. Every hand worked not just to rebuild, but to show the galaxy that life, love, and hope were as powerful as any weapon. Across the stars, other species began to whisper. Humans were no longer just a curiosity or a joke. They were something else entirely, unstoppable, patient, and unyielding. And still the humans did not strike. The Arks moved like mountains through the void, silent and patient, giving the galaxy one final warning. "You destroyed one of our homes," the ambassador said softly. "Now you will see what it truly means to protect a home, a life, a future. We fight only when we must, but when we do, the universe will remember us." Somewhere aboard the Arks, a child looked up at the stars and smiled. The galaxy could not yet comprehend humanity's strength, but it would soon. Because humanity had awakened. And nothing, not fleets, not empires, not centuries of arrogance, would ever underestimate them again. The Karth Dominion had believed themselves untouchable. Their fleets filled star systems, weapons capable of tearing planets apart, commanders proud and arrogant. They had crushed the human colony and assumed the galaxy would nod in approval. They had been wrong. The first Ark moved into Karth space like a silent god. No engines roared, no weapons fired. It simply existed, bending light and gravity around itself. The Karth fleet scrambled, firing everything they had, but their weapons passed through shields as if they were air. Energy beams dissolved into nothing. Missiles collapsed into harmless plasma before reaching the hull. Panic spread among the Karth ranks. Officers shouted orders that no one could follow. Ships collided as commanders tried to retreat, yet the Arks moved with patience, careful not to harm more than necessary. The humans did not seek to destroy without reason. They sought justice. From the command deck of the largest Ark, the human ambassador observed the chaos through massive viewing ports. His face was pale, his eyes deep with sorrow, yet calm. The loss of the colony weighed heavily upon him, but he did not rage. Humans had long learned the power of patience, of control, and of restraint. The first human transmission echoed through the Karth command networks. "You destroyed one of our homes. You thought we were weak. You were wrong." Then the Ark did something terrifying. It moved closer, not to fire but to push. Space itself seemed to shiver. Gravity warped. The Karth capital world cracked, oceans rising toward the sky, mountains trembling. Cities collapsed under the slow, unstoppable pressure of the Ark's presence. The Karth had never faced this. Their weapons failed. Their arrogance shattered. The humans stopped. They could have wiped out the Karth dominion entirely. They could have erased every fleet, every world, every leader who had mocked them. But they chose mercy. They chose restraint. A calm voice played over every Karth frequency. We are not monsters, but we are not prey. One by one, Karth fleets surrendered. The empire that had laughed at humans now bowed in terror and respect. Across the galaxy, other species began to reconsider their judgments. If humans could wield such quiet, deliberate power, what else were they capable of? On board the Arks, children watched the stars through observation domes, unaware of the fear they inspired. Engineers repaired minor damage, civilians tended to small gardens, and leaders began planning the rebuilding of the lost colony. Life moved forward, steady and unbroken. The ambassador turned to the council once more, holding a simple artifact, a small toy recovered from the destroyed colony. He placed it gently on the table. "We never wanted to scare you," he said softly. "We only wanted to live." The galaxy understood then, finally. Strength was not measured by violence or fleets or fear. Strength was patience. Strength was endurance. Strength was the quiet power to rise after suffering and the courage to show mercy even when revenge was deserved. And humanity, quiet, grieving, yet unstoppable, had shown the galaxy exactly what that strength meant. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting for what humans would do next. And for the first time, every species knew. Humanity was not to be underestimated, ever. The galaxy was silent. For the first time in centuries, no fleets moved aggressively, no empires boasted, no historians wrote with certainty. Every species paused, unsure how to react to what they had just witnessed. Humanity had awakened, and the stars themselves seemed smaller beneath the weight of their presence. The Arks returned to orbit above human worlds, not to conquer, not to punish, but to watch. They were guardians now, carrying billions of lives in countless ecosystems, proof that humans could endure anything. Survivors from the destroyed colony rebuilt quietly, their hands moving with purpose, their hearts heavy but unbroken. Hospitals, schools, homes, all rose again, stronger and safer than before. Every brick, every garden, every classroom was a statement. Humanity survived, and humanity would protect its own. Other species approached cautiously, offering help not out of kindness, but out of respect. The Viral sent engineers to assist with rebuilding. The Solari merchants brought supplies, food, and medicine. Even former enemies observed silently, understanding that humans were no longer a species to exploit or mock. Inside the Galactic Council chambers, the human ambassador placed a single object on the table, a small, charred toy from the destroyed colony. It was a symbol of loss, a memory of the lives taken, and a reminder of what had driven humans to awaken the Arks. "We never wanted to fight," he said softly, his voice carrying both sorrow and strength. "We only wanted to live, and now the galaxy knows what that means." The Council recorded this statement in every language on every system. Humans had shown restraint, mercy, and power, all in the same moment. The lesson was clear: underestimate humanity, and the consequences would be unimaginable. On the rebuilt colony, children played among new gardens and streets. They laughed despite the shadows of the past. Parents watched, holding hands, teaching them that courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to rise even when fear is overwhelming. Survivors shared stories of loss, of heroes, of bravery, ensuring the memory of what had happened would never fade. The galaxy learned to speak differently about humans. No longer were they fragile. No longer were they to be mocked. Instead, they became a symbol of hope and resilience, a species that could endure every disaster and still rise to greatness. And yet humanity remained humble. The Arks returned to deep space, silent observers prepared to defend but not to dominate. Humans rebuilt, healed, and continued forward, not seeking power but cherishing life, family, and home. The stars were brighter now because humans had shown their light. They were quiet guardians of their fragile, beautiful existence, a reminder to the galaxy that strength could be gentle, patience could be terrifying, and love could move planets. And as the galaxy held its breath, one truth became certain. The weakest-looking hands might be the strongest in the universe. Humanity would endure, and the universe would never forget it. The galaxy would never laugh at humans again.